Is officially Pride Month. Happy Pride, or as happy as it can be given the current state of our country. We are in the middle of a reckoning, having some long overdue conversations about Black lives.
Black Lives Matter has been a wake-up call for Pride, and I kind of wondered what your thoughts were on that.
For a really long time, racism has run rampant inside of the queer community. And it's been something, it's not a new conversation that I've had. It's certainly not a new conversation my friends have had. But I think for the first time, queer people are like, oh yeah, we've been perpetuating this as well. And we have to do something about that. And so, yeah, so it is one of those things where, you know, as Black and brown and POC inside the community, we've always known that racism exists and the intersections of it all, but it's never been taken seriously. And so finally, it's like, yes, let's talk about this. Let's talk about what you put on your Grinder apps. Let's talk about how you approach me at the club. Let's talk about the ways I've said the most racist experiences that I've had in my 33 years have been at the hands of white gay men. That's been like the most overt racism that I've experienced. So, you know, it's time to fucking unpack it and deal with it.
We're learning a lot. I'm learning a lot this year. What's your take on how do we celebrate Pride then in the years to come?
That's a real complicated question, but I think that at base it should be inclusive. And I think we have, you know, even like, you know, LA with the Solidarity March and at first it having no Black leadership attached to it. It's like, those are the mistakes that I think as a community we can't afford to make, because I think that we should be the community that kind of writes the book on what inclusion looks like. And so I think Pride is an opportunity, amongst other things, to do that, to really sit down and be like, okay, who's at the table and what are we trying to do? And how do we not just like take money from brands and let brands have their floats inside of this? What are the queer businesses that we can elevate? What are the POC queer businesses that we can elevate? What are the ways in which we can simultaneously have our cocktails, because I love my cocktails, but also pour back into the community in an inclusive way that isn't just about white gay men or white queer people, but that really includes the community as a whole.
The reason that I think it is so important to start to talk and think about media and what you're consuming is because it permeates the psyche of our culture.
You kind of lay out some great steps for like, you know, anyone that's like just wants to tune out and watch something. You kind of lay out some great steps for us to kind of reassess and think about what it is we're actually taking in.
There are probably several steps that need to be taken. So I think part of the steps is saying, okay, you know, it's like why you can't find Birth of a Nation. I think I hope you can't find it, but it's like, oh, that's a problematic fucking movie. So we don't need, you know, it got made, fine. It doesn't need to be seen anymore. So I think we have to remain critical in terms of you do the best you can with the information that you have, right? So at the time that those episodes came out, maybe it felt socially acceptable. Now that you are aware that it's not, delete it. But then we also have to have those conversations about, well, why did that get made in the first place? And how do we prevent that from happening again? That's why you have to diversify your rooms, and not just diversify, but like have inclusion. I've been saying lately, it's not just about a diverse hire, it's about inclusion inside of that. So one, don't just hire one Black person and make them responsible for everything Black. You need to have like 3 or 4 Black people in your room, or 3 or 4 trans people, or 3 or 4, you know, whatever it is. And then you need to listen to them when they speak to you and say, this is not working. And then you move from there. You move forward from there so that you don't make uneducated, uninformed, potentially harmful and dangerous choices in your TV shows and your movies.
I like you just the way you are.
Oh my God.
I am pansexual.
Holy shit.
From your experience in that room, how is a show like Big Mouth doing the work then?
Big Mouth is my first room, so all I know about other rooms is what friends tell me, and I think what stands out about Big Mouth is that our EPs, even though they're all, you know, white, they're all Jewish, they understand that and listen to us, who they've hired, to help guide the conversation and the stories. And so they realize, oh, we have this one perspective and we don't just want to tell these kinds of stories. So we need to diversify this room and include these people who don't have our experiences in these conversations, and listen to them when they say, oh, I don't know if that character would do that, or maybe you want to think about it this way, and then make the moves from there. Like, they're the ones in power. And I think they're using their power and their privilege to amplify and elevate stories that don't necessarily match their experience. And that's all you can, I think that's what we're asking for, in addition to obviously, you know, having more Black showrunners, having more queer showrunners and people in power. But those who are in power, how do you use it?
As we open it up to more perspectives, you see that it does feel like a show that can go 5+ seasons for years and years, because we're just bringing in more experience. Shows start to feel stale for a while, especially if you're just going to continue focusing on like the same white people.
Yes, absolutely, because we've seen that story 15,000 times in 15,000 ways. And it's not like, there's no one saying that there's no value to that, but it is like, that's not the world. There's so many other experiences. There's so many other perspectives that deserve to be folded in. I find it, other than like, you know, there are certain shows where I'm like, yes, I get that has to be, like Succession. I'm like, yes, an all white cast. I get it. I understand the commentary. But then there are other shows where you're like, I don't understand how there are only white people here. Like, that's not the life I live. I'm from New York. I live in LA. There's no world in which white people are just, or maybe they are. Maybe I'm just confused. Is that how white people live? I'm around white people a lot. So I'm like, wait, do y'all just not have Black people in your life? I get so confused by the lack of inclusion in shows coming out still that are like, it's still a white lead, and that Black guy is, you know, he makes some jokes sometimes, and he, you know, he's funny sometimes, and like, you're like, but that's a full person. It's a human.
Mm-hmm.
He gets to have stake inside of whatever this storyline is.
You always have that in the back of your mind, right? You want to make sure this is this full character. This isn't just like a Netflix gig. Like, this is a little bit more than that, right?
I am gay. I have no problem playing gay, but it's like, I want a full 3-dimensional character. I want to play a person. I want somebody with a storyline that is not just, I'm gay, or I like came out today. Coming out stories are so important, but it's like, you have a character come out and that's the last time you see that character. And it's like, no, there are so many facets to us as people. When I look at a script, I am looking to make sure that a person exists underneath all of this, and not just, I mean, I have cringe at some of the scripts that I've read where you're like, that's his line? Like, that's what you think? Oh, okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still a struggle. And I'm hoping that as a writer, I can help move that needle and help be a part of that change, which is 3-dimensional queer characters and 3-dimensional Black characters and 3-dimensional POC characters.